Want to talk a little West Coast Conference basketball because it's not every day you get to see one of the best teams in the country play, and that's going to be tonight at the Orleans Arena. 4 good basketball teams, 2 really good basketball teams. Gonzaga is playing San Francisco. They're favored by 13. While I think San Francisco is a decent basketball team, you can maybe make the argument for San Francisco being an NIT team, but they are not going to have a chance against Gonzaga. Gonzaga could get off to a slow start. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. But I think Gonzaga shouldn't have any problems with San Francisco and moving on to the finals. Going to the other game, BYU is another team just like Gonzaga. While Gonzaga is a better basketball team, BYU is really good. They've been consistent, top 25 in the country the last 6 weeks or so. I could see BYU being a Sweet 16 team. They have a lot of seniors. They have a lot of guys that can shoot. They're pretty good underneath the basket. They're very well coached. BYU is going to be playing Saint Mary's. Now, Saint Mary's had to play in the quarterfinals. It's been a while since they had to play in that game. While Saint Mary's is not a pushover, they're pretty good, and that's why the spread's only around 4. I like BYU in this game, and I like Gonzaga. I think that's what we're going to see in the final. I think the only way BYU loses in this game is that they don't shoot well from 3. I mean, that's a big part of their offense is how well they shoot the ball from the outside. The problem with St. Mary's is I don't know if they're capable of scoring in the 80s. And when you play BYU, they score in the 80s. You're going to have to score in the upper 70s or 80s to beat BYU. I don't think St. Mary's is capable of doing that, and that's why I think BYU wins, and I think it's going to be Gonzaga-BYU final. I think in the end, we're going to see Gonzaga tear down the Nets on Tuesday night at the Orleans Arena. What do you guys say?
I think a big question, JD, right, with a team like Gonzaga, when you're the number 2 team in the country, is motivation, right? In a conference tournament like this, they're basically a lock to a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, and so that I think it's a fair question to ask. And I think that the answer to it is they're absolutely motivated because of what transpired a year ago, where they were basically stunned by St. Mary's in that championship game where they lost 60-47. You guys were at that game last year, so there's motivation for Gonzaga to win this tournament. So I don't think this is one of those look-past situations with San Francisco in the matchup coming up tonight.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be a landslide victory tonight, though. I think San Francisco actually covers the 12-point spread. But BYU should blast the doors off of St. Mary's, in my opinion. I don't think there's any chance they lose this game. I love the money line. I like the -4. I think we do see a Gonzaga-BYU final, but I like BYU to win it all, Brian. BYU has more depth than Gonzaga. Yoli Childs, they can't match up with Yoli Childs. They're very accurate from 3. They don't turn the ball over. They actually play reasonably decent defense. I think you're going to see a BYU-Gonzaga final with BYU winning, and I'm very excited to watch BYU, in my opinion, beat St. Mary's by 10+ tonight.
For the record, my track record is pretty good, though, and we've disagreed.
Fair enough. That's fine.
I do agree with you that Gonzaga is going to win tonight. BYU is going to win tonight. I agree with you with that game, BYU-St. Mary's. I think I really like BYU tonight a lot. I disagree with you. I don't think BYU beat Gonzaga. I agree that BYU has a better bench, but that starting lineup, they're more physical. Gonzaga, they play a more physical game, and I think in a conference championship game, those points don't come as easy, and that's why I like Gonzaga. But again, that's why they play the games. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But
St. Mary's, man, you got a kid like Ford, who went for 42 the other night against Pepperdine.
Yeah,
anytime you got somebody like that,
he had to go for 42 to win that game. Though.
I'm just throwing that out there, Brian and JD. I'm just tossing it out there.
Okay, well, here's what I'm going to toss out there. It took them double overtime to beat that team. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, you're not playing Pepperdine today. You're playing BYU. A team that is completely different makeup. If it takes double overtime to beat a Pepperdine, guess what? If they play that at that level, they're going to get smoked by BYU tonight. BYU, a much better basketball team. Yeah, he scored 42. You're right. It was also a double overtime game, and they needed every single one of those points to win. Otherwise, guess what? It would have been Pepperdine and BYU tonight. So I think that's why. Listen, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think BYU should win handily. I think they should win by double digits if they play well. And I don't think St. Mary's is capable of scoring that many points. BYU scores in the 80s. It'll be interesting to see how Gonzaga comes out.
St. Mary's offense is so predicated on Jordan Ford. They only have they get like 11 or 12 assists a game. BYU gets about 18. They really move the ball well. They have 5 or 6 guys that can shoot. St. Mary's has 2 guys that can really score: Fitz and Ford. And Kusi can do a little bit off. I mean, Krebs is fine, but BYU has so many more scores. They have so many more threats offensively. And I honestly think that San Francisco is going to play Gonzaga very tough tonight.
Gonzaga plays first, right?
Yes, they play.
Yes, they do.
I think they're gonna lose that game, and they could win the game because they do have a lot of depth. And if they play well, they can still make shots. But I think they lose that game between 6 and 8 points.
And
you
by the
got to
way-
like that three-headed monster, right? With
Yeah.
BYU, you got obviously you talked about Child, but you also have Hawes and Toulson too.
Hawes
Exactly.
is like 38 years old, right?
And I think Dalton Nixon.
Has he been there for like
No, he's-
7 years? Brian and JD, we've been watching conference tournaments for
Yeah.
the last
Well,
like
it was
5 years. here.
Tyler.
I think he's been playing for BYU all those
So
years.
they've had a bunch of
Yeah.
Hawes. Tyler, his older brother, was before TJ, and they look the
Okay.
exact same because they're both bald. And so that's the issue here.
Fair enough. All right. Well, those games are tonight, 6 o'clock and 8:30. Really looking forward to going to those games tonight. And I love the West Coast Conference Tournament. I think the atmosphere at the Orleans Arena is going to be fantastic tonight. So all these games in our backyard, we will be checking that out tonight. I think JD showing up to the games tonight. The no is about minus 300.
No, I'm going to absolutely be there.
Well, you haven't shown up to any West Coast Conference games yet.
Yes, minus 160, and you're right. I haven't been to any games. I went to one. I went to the.
Yeah. Why is that?
What
you
Why
went
are
to
you not
one
going
Mountain
games?
West game,
What
didn't you?
game did I
You did
watch?
come to one Mountain West
Well,
tournament
Brian,
game
I've
this
got
week.
I've got a 2-year-old daughter.
Now, there's you know what it
and
is, Brian.
I have a family.
Do we have the
There's
audio of the
always-
baby crying?
and
right
Shaq.
now?
and I am a family man. Actually, she was
Yeah.
crying a lot on a very important conference call that I had, but my business partners understood.
Shap,
Nice.
there's always extenuating circumstances when it comes to JD.
Yeah,
He's
you
got
know-
stuff going on in his life,
Now,
so there's
but
it'll take precedence.
But these are not excuses.
No,
No, these are priorities.
I just pointed out
There's a difference.
extenuating
I like
circumstances.
that. I appreciate
Right.
that. See, when
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to say there's no chance you show up tonight and pick up your credential. I'm just going with my.
I will 100% be there.
No chance.
I'm going to
No,
be there.
no, you're not.
Yes,
No.
you will see me there. I will watch both those games. I will be in attendance tonight.
I disagree. Well, we'll talk about it tomorrow.
We'll even take a picture.
All right.
We'll put it on the Twitter.
Well, it'll be photoshopped.
So what's
I
our-
don't think you're going to be
Oh,
there.
okay. What's our? Can you Photoshop?
Yeah, you can Photoshop.
Do you think
do that.
Do you think T. Matthew Phillips photoshopped his law degree?
I don't know. We'll have to
It's
ask
a
him that.
possibility.
I bet he did.
We'll have to ask him that if he ever comes on our show again, which I doubt. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's time for your favorite segment of the day, at least our producer's favorite segment. It's called Hate Mail, and it's coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.